Good morning, everybody, and welcome to webinar number 3 in our series of discussions about the unique capabilities that exist within the United Kingdom Battery Industrialisation Centre. And this week we're going to focus on skills development in the UK and how what the landscape is and how UKBIC is contributing to the development of the skills involved. The meeting will be hosted by me, but the main presentation will be by our Head of Learning and Development, Jonty Deeley-Williamson. So the meeting will focus on skills development in the battery manufacturing ecosystem. And just some notes prior to kicking off. To ask questions, please use the Q&A function that's available on Teams. The chat function is actually closed so that we don't get multiple questions going to different sources. We'll get through as many questions as we can once the presentation has ended. So please get your questions into the Q&A board. If at the end of the meeting you want to contact UKBIC, there are various email addresses that you can contact depending on the nature of your inquiry. I would say if you are interested in visiting UKBIC after the event, we do host a number of industry days throughout the year, so please look out for them on our website. If there are enough people from this event who want to have a visit, then we could organise an industry day specifically for you. A copy of the slides and the recording of the presentation will be available on UKBIC's website and on LinkedIn by Monday, the 22nd of January. So what we're going to do today, I will just give you a brief, and it is a really brief introduction to UKBIC, and then I'll hand off to Jonty, who will talk about skills development. So, brief introduction to UKBIC. The UKBIC story commenced in 2017 when there was a real recognition that in the UK there was no real battery manufacturing, and there was a very real threat that if battery manufacturing wasn't occurring locally, electric vehicle manufacturers could very easily uplift their production and take it to parts of the world where batteries were available, with the consequential loss of potentially tens of thousands of jobs, not just at the car manufacturers themselves, but throughout the entire supply chain. So the government at the day created an entity called the Faraday Battery Challenge, and there are 3 key pillars behind Faraday Battery Challenge. First is the Faraday Institution, which is looking at early stage materials research. The second part is collaborative R&D, which is pots of money that are available through different competitions. You may be aware that APC 26 launched yesterday. That might be something that you want to look into if you're looking to get a collaboration together and a consortium together to move an interesting product forward. At the end of the CR&D project, you may have a product that's ready to go to market, but you don't have anywhere to get it made. And you don't have the funding to build a factory because your investors aren't ready for you yet because they haven't seen the product being made. So that's where UKBIC comes in. UKBIC is the scale-up arm of the Faraday Battery Challenge with a full suite of battery manufacturing equipment to enable companies to cross that valley of death, as it's sometimes known, between an interesting product that's ready to go to market and the customers who want to buy it. Currently, there's been about over £200 million worth of investment in UKBIC to get us to the capability that we have right now. So how we generally work is Faraday Institution will work at gram scale, leading edge industry research, but generally concentrating on university research departments. Kilogram scale is your typical pilot line, which may be at within a university. Then UKBIC comes in to help you get to the gigafactory scale through 2 separate routes. Firstly is the flexible pilot line, which will come online later on this year, which will be enable battery manufacturers to get small amounts, of tens to hundreds of cylindrical and pouch cells made, or even a smaller amount of electrode made for testing and market development and trials with customers. And then when you've proved that works and you've got a product that's robust, we can then manufacture that product for you in the hundreds of kilograms using our industrial line. And then from there, the idea is that you will then have a product which can be made at gigafactory level, and you've got the investors and the customer base to take that product. So in terms of what we have here at UKBIC, we have the full suite of manufacturing. So we do everything from mixing, bringing in powders and solvents and foils. So mixing, coating, drying, calendaring, then slitting, intercell assembly, and then formation agent test. So we can do everything from bringing the raw materials in to having a finished battery, which is ready to go out to customers within this one facility. Then we also have module and pack development facilities that really concentrate on process development. For those of you who don't know, we occupy a 20,000 square meter site on the outskirts of Coventry. We're open to organizations of any size who are looking to scale technology in the UK. We give you access to gigascale equipment. Just to give you an idea, if we were to run our electrode lines, anode and cathode, at full chat, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we produce 1.5 to 2 gigawatt hours of electrode per annum. We enable you to trial and validate your product at industrial rates, because our equipment will run at exactly the same speed that you will find in any gigafactory. And we're open to any industry sectors. So whilst I began by saying that the idea was to protect the loss of car manufacturing in the UK, most of our business is coming from a variety of sectors. Our customers also, and this is very important to note, that really is part of what makes UKBIC unique, is that we don't want to own any of your IP. So you'll come to us with your background IP. Jointly, we'll develop the product together, developing further IP. At the end of the project, we will package all of that up and return that to you. And as part of everything that we do, we help you to develop the skills, training and knowledge that you will need to make the batteries in your own facility. Now, when we started talking about this 4 years ago, that was really about assisting big customers who were coming with their products and working alongside us on the production line. But for the past 3 years, we have been developing bespoke training for the UK industry. And that's where I will now hand over to Jonty to go into that in a lot more detail. Okay, thank you. Over to Jonty.
Good morning all. So my name's Jonty Deeley-Williamson. I'm the head of L&D here at UKBIC. I'm going to take some of your time. I've been told I'm limited to 20 minutes. I'll be told off if I go over that. So we'll stick to that to talk about how we're going to develop the skills. But we're going to sort of take a journey first about a bit of background, the opportunity, and then why UKBIC is the solution. So the road to net zero, this is obviously all about net zero for us. For the UK, it's moving from internal combustion engines towards net zero, towards electric vehicles as we move forward. These numbers here are from the SMMT figures 2025. The UK built estimated 868,000 vehicles in the UK, and 76% of them that were made in the UK were exported. Now, quite interestingly, our largest exporter, obviously EU27. Behind that is the USA at 16%, China at 7.2%, Turkey at 4.3%, Australia at 2%, and Japan at 2%. So we're still a massive global leader in terms of automotive manufacturing and export. And if any of you saw the news, probably on LinkedIn, the UK overtook Germany as the largest manufacturer of electric vehicles within Europe in the last month of 2024. We had 381,970 EVs registered in the UK in 2024, and that is just pure EVs. If we include PHEVs and HEVs, so plug-in hybrid vehicles and hybrid vehicles, registrations reach almost 800,000. So the registration of EVs in the UK is closing in on the amount of cars we build. Now, it's a massive industry for the UK, especially here in Coventry in the West Midlands, but around the UK, up in the Northeast as well, is that we have about 813,000 people employed across UK automotive. 188,000 of those are employed directly in the manufacturing. The SMMT Motor Industry Facts and Forecasts, along with the Friday Battery Challenge forecast in Innovate UK, says there could be at least 40,000 new jobs forecast to be created in the sector by 2030, which actually is an increase on the jobs that are potentially going to be lost by the shutting down of internal combustion engine lines. That's because the creation process for batteries is actually more involved in terms of man hours or people hours than internal combustion engine. This is a quick breakdown of the jobs that we expect in 2040 as we move forward. As always, these are estimations from government departments, so we hope the numbers will be close to that, but I'm not putting any definite faith in those and saying they're going to be there. But we're seeing there that 170,000 people in EV manufacturing. So that is just in electric vehicle manufacturing. That's 35,000 new battery manufacturing jobs, which is a brand new job, doesn't exist anywhere else within our supply chain. And an extra 65,000 jobs in the wider battery supply chain. So you see there 270,000 total jobs, which is higher than the number of people that are currently being employed by the internal combustion engine sector for the creation of normal cars. Yet again, as Andrew said, this is just automotive, and the reason for that is automotive is probably the fastest moving industry that we work in when it comes to battery manufacturing. We could also work in any industry, whether that be static storage, marine, aerospace, space, static storage, as I already said, and rail, to name a few. A lot of these ones are slower moving industries, so this is just based on EV manufacturing and battery manufacturing. However, if we extrapolate this to other industries, that number is going to grow exponentially. For each gigawatt hour per year, we need 180 jobs in battery manufacturing. The UK itself wants to push for northwards of 150 to 300, depending on which government figures you listen to. There's a large number of battery manufacturing jobs. So again, 35,000 new jobs in battery manufacturing and 65,000 supply chain, a massive amount of work. And quite interesting to note here is that the industry is only growing, and most of the workforce of 2040, about 80% is already in work. So we're not looking here at new people coming to industry, we're looking at reskilling and upskilling of the already existing workforce. Now, most people will tell you that batteries are very complex and that you need a high level of education to manufacture and create some of these. But actually, the Friday report shows that most of the workers within the battery manufacturing industry will be level 2 or level 3 workers. So it's equivalent to those working into internal combustion engine manufacturing as we speak now. Yes, there are some very high level jobs for the research, but the actual large grunt of the work is going to be done by those qualified to level 2 or level 3. So that's really people leaving college at that point for the manufacturing side. So it's quite interesting there to sort of see that push towards a higher qualified industry, but qualified beyond just our national levels, more about the tacit knowledge, which is knowledge you get from sitting there doing the work, being able to tell you if a slurry or a mix looks good. One interesting one to pick up on here as well is 50% of that workforce is production staff, with 30% being maintenance and engineering, and then the rest of the 20% being either quality, other supporting function, enabling functions, and management. So 80% of the workforce is going to be level 2 or 3 qualified as we move forward. We always hear people say, where are we going to get these people from? Internal combustion engines are going to continue to be created. We obviously see that hybrids are still pushing forward and are included in the data moving forward to 2040 and beyond. But actually, although a large portion of the work being done on the line is newer technology on new machinery, it's not brand new machinery for industries. It's machinery we've taken from other industries that can do the same work. So there are the allied industries for electrode. We're looking at food manufacturing. We're looking at pharmaceutical. Those sorts of allied industries that understand mixing, placing a slurry onto something and moving forward. Electronics for cell assembly. We're looking at manufacturing, high-level manufacturing, automotive. FA&T is data analysis. So that's data manipulation. So that already exists in a large number of roles. And our assembly line for the module and pack is actually a lot about that factory work. Long lines going on where people are adding certain various components onto the line, but doing so under controlled circumstances. So these are not brand new skills that we're having to find that people keep talking about. These are skills that are already existing that we can upskill people for, so they have the basic knowledge as we move forward. This is a slide that we show to universities, schools and colleges to give that message that we are giving the workforce of the future. As I mentioned before, about 20% we think are going to be coming up as new replacements for those retiring, but 80% of the workforce is going to be pre-existing. So it's here talking about what we do, how it's different, but really getting the message across that this is, although we call it engineering and manufacturing, gone are the days where it's dirty overalls in a factory out in the cold. There's actually very few rooms that are cleaner than our clean and dry rooms here at UKBIC Battery Manufacturing. So here it's about changing that viewpoint for a large portion of the students who are coming in. We always hear that students, or children, I'm going to say, want to be a footballer, a doctor, a paramedic, a policeman, or something like that, things they see on TV. So this is making sure that it's visible. And I think the factor was about 70% of all children and students go into the same rough career as their parents because that's what they're observed to. So we're doing a big push here as well about enabling and encouraging and teaching parents what's out there so that they can also support their students and children as they grow up. So why training matters? This is sort of my bread and butter. I've been in education for far too long, more years I like to count. But it's here about educating people in electrification and making sure they're confident in the technologies, as it is about understanding those new technologies. I saw a great statistic the other day that although the generation growing up now, the ones after millennials, are a generation that have grown up with technology, they're actually not as good as millennials at using the technology because they haven't seen what's come before. So it's very much here about educating people about those confidence technologies, confidence in electric vehicles, confidence in understanding what's going on as it is, understand how it happens. And I always come back to a nice quote that's always attributed to Einstein, but it's not his, which is, if you judge intelligence as the ability to climb a tree, a fish will go its whole life thinking it's stupid. So it's saying here that, yes, it may be very complex what we're trying to do. However, the barrier to entry is actually very low. So it's giving people the opportunity to understand electrification, a chance to do things differently and better. The 8 most dangerous words in the English language are, but we've always done it that way. And it means changing. And for that, we need to inform people. And that's the major role of L&D and UKBIC, at least from my point of view, for the industry. And nice quote there again, we cannot solve our problems with the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And it's very much goes back to Henry Ford, which is, if he asked the people what they wanted, they would not have said a car, they would have said faster horses. So it's about pushing forward that narrative that EVs are the future. There are other competing technologies that will exist in the same sphere, but EVs are definitely the best solution to the issues we have right now. So those of you in education probably understand this is Bloom's taxonomy. I'm going to take the first 4 layers of remember or recall, understand, apply and analyze. And that's really where UKBIC sit in our offering, and we'll refer to these as we move forward. But this is the language of education and understanding what we're trying to get people to do. So remember is just recalling those facts and basic components. The understand is being able to explain those ideas. The apply is then taking those ideas and applying them to new situations, and the analyze is drawing connections at the other end from those ideas. With that in mind, this is our training that we offer here within UKBIC. As an offering, we have a main course, the Introduction to Battery Manufacturing. It is a 2-day course that's classroom based with a tour of the line, and explains at a high level for all levels, whether that be investors, managerial, CEOs, C-suite, or people those into the industry. It just gives you an introduction of how batteries are physically made. It helps to demystify the myths about how complex batteries are and how sort of China's got that massive head start on us and that we'll never be able to do it. It really demystifies that idea. That's sort of the basic level we offer. Once you've done that, we then invite you to come along to deep dive training. And that's where we spend much longer in the processes. So rather than saying this is mixing, here's how it's done, we really start to delve deeper into the why we do it, how it's being done, what are the competing technologies, what may exist out there in all of our areas. So electrode, cell assembly, formation agent testing, and module and pack. And then as part of that, but the level 3 is that line side experience. And that's hands-on training on our manufacturing line to not only understand the theory, but start putting that theory into practice by actually physically getting on a line to start building up that tacit knowledge of understanding what a good story looks like or why we do the things that we do. On top of that, we have the Training the World. So UKBIC, a large portion of my role, is going out and talking to awarding bodies, talking to colleges, universities, businesses about how we can support. So UKBIC were the chair of the apprenticeship standard, the Battery Manufacturing Technician apprenticeship standard that was launched last year, that's being offered at a couple of colleges. But we also use that to write the National Occupational Standards. So anyone not inside England, so Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, they don't have apprenticeships in the same way that we do. We wrote a National Occupational Standard that could support that. And we're already seeing countries such as America and a few other countries that are looking at our apprenticeship standards and starting to apply them to their own learning. The UK is very good at our learning and our technology teaching. Other countries do like to take that. We're working on a short course qualification for reskilling and upskilling and a route into battery manufacturing with an awarding body. More will come on that later with an announcement, I think sort of March or April time, where we're looking at an award, a diploma and a certificate to really help support those that want a formal qualification, either alongside to their current role or as a movement towards a career in the battery manufacturing sector. And then we've obviously got the STEM outreach, very important to me, and Simon is a member of my team, but getting out there and explaining to teachers and students and the workforce of the future why it's important and how interesting it is, explaining to them what we're having to do, what's happening in battery manufacturing, to really sort of start chivvying them along to understand what they want to do. Because as I said, if you ask a younger person what you want to do, it will be what they see. It won't be what they really want to do. And we're seeing that millennials and Gen Z have got a real push towards green technology and careers that actually matter and have a change in the world. They're very much that change that you want to see. Just a quick summary of sort of our bit here to add a little bit. We've got like training at UKBIC, the introductory courses, our deep dives in our process areas, and we can tailor them for your company. We can make them fully bespoke for you, or we can tailor them to use your data, your processes. We have a line here at UKBIC, we have our processes, but we have a large portion of knowledge through our experts and our training team into what other technologies are out there, what are their pros and cons, why you should use them, why you shouldn't use them, to give you the full information to be able to make those decisions. So we do those courses for industries, the apprenticeship scheme and development apprenticeship courses, but we also do a lot of research, a large portion of collaboration on research and development projects with universities, with customers, that we can gain first-hand knowledge as we move forward to deliver that as part of our training. And that's the idea of the awareness, the understanding, the application, and the analysis after that. We have available to book on our website an Introduction to Battery Manufacturing course taking place 2 weeks' time, 27th to the 28th of January, and we have dates of almost every month in 2025. Again, this is a course to explain to people what battery manufacturing is, give them a real grounded foundation to be able to build on, because if you build on sand, then you're going to have everything collapse around you. This gives you a real solid foundation to what battery manufacturing is and what's coming not only at the moment, but also in the future. And we also have those group process deep dives that we tailor towards your company. We've delivered quite a few, and in a bit I'll talk about some of the customers that we've worked with. But if you email us through now at training@ukbic.co.uk, then we can start having those conversations with you to make sure the training hits those learning objectives that you have. We are also a consultative training company. We won't sit there and tell you what you need to do without any conversations. We will sit down with people, find out their issues, find out what they want to learn from their learning objectives, and then at the back of that, give them some learning objectives that are agreed as a group to then move forward on as we design and deliver the training for you. A few testimonials. Quentin Wilson, who probably any of you are interested in EVs or the battery manufacturing will definitely know Quentin, and those who are slightly older may remember him from the Top Gear days. I'll read it out, but I can't do his voice as well. But he gave us such a great feedback on it. He has attended, but I thought I knew a thing or two about EV batteries, but I was staggered by the detail and micro level precision necessary. Making batteries is infinitely more complicated than making combustion engines, and will therefore bring with it an increased employment opportunities. UKBIC is one of the world's foremost research industrialization facilities, integral for future-proofing the UK economy. Politicians take note, UKBIC is one of the glittering jewels in this country's innovation crown. So some quite impressive, important words from Quentin there, someone who's got real reach and is the founder of Faircharge. And those of you also know as well, we've got Roger Atkins turned up, and he spent quite a lot of time here. The nice video that if you want to go and check it out about his time at UKBIC is available on his LinkedIn. But he really enjoyed it. And he made a lot of comments about the fact that he's been out of education for quite some time, but this course really eased him into it. It wasn't a course that overwhelmed him with information or technical data. This is a really good introduction course for him to understand, having said been out of formal education for quite some time, as he would put it. I don't want to put a date on it, and neither would he. So these are my customers that we deliver training to and we work with. Some big names you'll see there. some other bigger names that we can't mention that we have delivered training for, but we have delivered training for a large portion of customers to give them the basis of knowledge to understand what is happening. That involves some really big OEMs, but again, a good founding here for some of the companies that are forefront in the industry that we are promoting. And with that, I will pass back to Andrew, who will hopefully turn his camera on and have a lovely smile ready for us all.
And there it is. So thank you very much for that, Jonty. I hope you've all found that to be very informative and illuminating as to what we can offer here at UKBIC. So again, if you want to contact us, the contact details are there. If you want to talk about any specific project, please do get in touch with me through the sales@ukbic.co.uk. That will be the initial point of contact, and then we can develop the opportunity by talking to you directly. So, I'd just like to mention quickly our next webinar, number 4 in the series, which will be looking at our flexible pilot line. As I mentioned in my brief introduction, we have 2 manufacturing lines. One is our industrial line, which is fully operational now. Our flexible pilot line, the smaller one, which is giving us the capability to handle smaller amounts of materials much more efficiently, is online later in the year. And Yaya Alva, our head of business development, will host that session, but it will be led by our CTO, Richard Lacane. And now I'd like to invite you to ask any questions. We don't have any yet in the Q&A box, but please, I'm sure a lot of you must have a requirement for information that's that we could address here.
So we've got one, Andrew. It's that how long would a bespoke course take to organise? So the whole process really would take a month or 2, but that's really based on that consultative element, working with the customers to understand what their needs are. I've been in LD for quite some time, and you'll find rarely do people know what they don't know. So that sitting down conversation of what their future plans are, what they're aiming to do, is really integral as a first starting point to be able to understand what their learning objectives are. And what we find 99.9% of the time, I won't blow my own trumpet, that after we do that first session, we sit down with them, we say, this is what we believe your learning objectives are based on the data that you have added to our documentation. And say 99% of the time, they say that's exactly what we're looking for, maybe a few tweaks. That 0.1%, I can't always say is always perfect, but we try our best. But it is that aim to really sit down to understand what's going on. And once we've done that, we work tirelessly with our experts here. I think we have probably the highest concentration of PhD researchers, probably of anyone in the battery manufacturing industry, which is quite nice. But we sit down with those and our experts down the manufacturing line to create that bespoke course for you for delivery within a decent time frame. And again, the presentation may have been good, and I will always blow my own trumpet, but there's no way that I answered everyone's questions during that presentation.
Okay, we don't seem to be getting any further questions. So that being the case, perhaps we draw the session to a close now.
Oh, we have 2 more actually. There we go.
Oh, actually, sorry, I beg your pardon, I'm not seeing them.
So they take a bit of time out. So Anil's asked, can you speak more about specific mixing and coating equipment that UKBIC has? So yes, here at UKBIC, we run a planetary mixer, an IRIC intensive mixer. That allows us to mix in a quite short period of time. We're seeing that planetary mixers are the number 1 choice for most customers. They're proven tech, but the IRIC intensive really reduces that mixing time available. We can do up to 440 litres within that, quite big anode and cathode during the mixing process. There are other mixers. We've got an intensive mixer or a Buehler mixer, which is more of a continuous mixer. So we mix ours in batches, I should say. We fill up about 440 litres, pass it into a holding container, degas it, and then pass it onto our coating line. You can have continuous batch or batch continuous, depending which way you want to do it, where you mix a batch and then place it into a holding tank. There's a bit of research being done on that one because the temperature difference outside of the manufacturing facility can impact the viscosity and the density of your mix. So we're seeing a lot of customers do a lot of research on if you mix a lot and place it to a holding tank, you also get the benefits of if anything happens further down the line, you continue holding things in the holding tank and have them be agitated. But we're not sure about how the different densities settle. Almost when you go and pour water, oil, and washing up liquid in a bottle, they will all dissipate out into their separate layers. Not many people have got real continuous mixing to work. That's because if any downtime happens, you have something going on further down the line, and you have to stop the mixing or stop the rest of the line. The mix will continue, and you can over mix it. If you over mix it, you get a slurry that's got a higher shear rate, so it's more likely to shear as we pass it through our coating machinery. Once it's been transferred over to the coating machinery, we have a simultaneous coater, so it coats the top and the bottom. The industry standard at the moment is tandem. So you coat one side, dry it, flip it over, coat the other side, dry it again. That's seen as a bit of a waste of energy and potential issues. The waste of energy, because obviously you're running two dryers, you're running two coaters, but a larger potential issue is actually at one point you are drying the top side, the A side we would call it, twice, which can lead to brittleness further down the line. We obviously design our drying process to completely dry it as it leaves our dryer. So ours is air flotation, so it's not swapped by rollers, kept under flotation by tension, and we coat the top and the bottom at both times, the same time I should say, and then dry at the same time. So we have seen a few companies, especially in China, move towards this tech because it is more energy efficient and quicker, and you take up a lot less room. I think we saw another one up there afterwards, which is, are we using slot by? So no, Anna, we do not have Buehler continuous mixing technologies. We have worked with them, but the output we had from our study to work out if it was worth it was actually the work we do. A Buehler continuous mixer would not be able to deliver what we need it to. That's again because we're really only mixing usually about 200 to 300 litres. And once we've mixed it in a batch, we will run that batch to see if there's anything we change. Because we're a industrialization facility, a lot of people come to us and say, it worked in my lab at 1 or 2 litres, or it worked at 10 litres. Oh, surely you just times it by 40 and it works. And I can tell you for a fact, it does not work that way. This is more akin to baking a cake or doing that sort of baking, in that as we get larger mixes, we have to change. It's not a perfect relationship between our slurry and our mixing ones. So we do not offer Buehler continuous mixing technologies, but we can run through how they work and the process they go through as part of the training. Again, the most we can take on a course, depending on the content. For our public course, we can take 16. That's a good number to be able to answer all the questions. But as we get down to the deeper dive course, we prefer to take smaller numbers. That's to make sure you can gain access to the room because they're clean and dry environments. When we start adding more people into them, then the environment can be affected. And if we change the dew point of one of the rooms by even a degree or two, that can affect the final output product. We've got slot die or Convar. Yes, we use slot die. We have used Convar before, and we are performing intermittent coating or skip coating. We've been doing that both on our cylindrical cells and our pouch cells, depending on the output and the customer. We are currently running half-width foil with intermittent coating for most of ours for our 21700 cylindricals, but we can offer intermittent coating for whatever you use for on our full-width foil. I'm going to look at Andrew here. Our full-width foil is 700. He says confidently. Wait.
Correct, Jonty. Yes. Max foil width is 700 millimeters. Max coating width is around 680. Although I think we have done 690 coat width.
So again, that's the industry standard. What we're seeing a lot of is that because of the machinery and how it works, is they will design it for their standard. It's very difficult to change the size of machinery once it's input. And the cells, why we make 21700s, because that's what our winder is designed for. We can't make 4680s currently, because again, that would involve retooling the entire line. We're happy to work with customers to get that output. I'm sure Andrew, we're very happy to talk to you about that, but obviously they're very much defined. And a question from Di about primary years school. We are looking at career days. The biggest issue with the output of career days is most of the time you want an end employer to have conversations. In the UK currently, we've got AESC up in the northeast, and obviously Agritas is starting work down in the southwest, down in Cornwall. We foster a relationship with a lot of local and national educational trusts about delivering those. We are delivering STEM days in the local area, in the West Midlands, especially around Walsall and Coventry and bits of Warwickshire, to try and target those people that would be a good fit for manufacturing in areas that usually give out manufacturing, if that makes sense. So we are looking at some primary initiatives. There is a Friday Battery Challenge battery in a box that is offered as a STEM activity that sort of explains how to make a battery and pushing through that knowledge. The main current issue is STEM requires a lot of time and a lot of funding. And we need to be supported by Friday Institution, Friday Battery Challenge, and Innovate to really push that out UK-wide. STEM activity is one of those things that when you sit with L&D professionals or management people in the industry, says it's the best idea in the world. As soon as you include a senior manager or a finance person that won't see the input of that for 10, 15 years, the conversation becomes a bit more difficult. So Anil's asked, what's the range of coating speeds based on mechanical considerations? Almost depends what the customer wants, and I will pass over to Andrew on this one, who's got a much better conversation.
The large industrial line really kicks in at around 5 to 6 meters a minute at its slowest to get a good quality coat. Nominally, the maximum speed that it should run at is 40 meters per minute, but we have run it beyond that successfully. The flexible pilot line, it will run slower than that, and it will have a maximum coating speed of 10 to 15 meters per minute, and it will run slightly slower than 5 to 6 meters per minute.
So from M, UKBIC hire more staff. Yes, if you go to Avira or our website, there are some roles available on there. And then probably follow UKBIC on LinkedIn and Avira, as that's where we usually have our adverts for them. And on Armel, yes, we are using copper foil and aluminium foil as our current collectors. Because we're working with customers, the thickness can vary depending on their output, alongside some of the other tech that we're using as our substrate foil there. Again, Andrew said, UKBIC do not seek to own IP. We are here for the industry. If someone turned up with something novel, we'd 100% try and get it on the line to make it work. We are here to give access to an industrialization line to allow people to see if their material works on an industrial scale. Saying a large portion of people that come to us say it works in a lab, and then we put it on the line. It's a different story because of how different it is, but we are happy to work with any customer in any way to get what we need as an output. And it was asked, any plans to do dry coating? Absolutely. As soon as dry coating gets a reasonable throughput and a efficient, satisfactory output, UKBIC can definitely look at dry coating. The issue with it is dry coating can be a large number of different processes to come to. Obviously with dry coating, for those who don't know, you remove the need to have a dryer, which is a large portion of the energy down an electrode. You basically place it on, and then depending on how it is, you can either run yourself a dry coating that then gets calendared and then recalendared on top, or lots of other different techs. But there's lots of technology we're seeing here that are currently at the research stage. And what we say quite a lot is batteries, or lithium-ion batteries, were first really mass produced in the late 80s, about 1989, and it's taken us till now to get to a point where we're mass producing them for electronic vehicles. So some of these contents we see about dry coating, about prismatic cells, about solid state cells are probably 5-10 years in the future, once they've been proven to work at a lab scale. But we are here to work with companies to educate them and deliver on dry coating or any other methods that may appear, including sodium ion or anything beyond. And I think if we have a look at both of these, that is all the questions answered for now. I won't say forever. If anyone's got any more questions, I think we've got 5 more minutes left in. More than happy to answer any more questions. But if you just want me to shut up so you can go about your day, I am more than happy to do that too.
shutting Jonty up is never that easy.
I do love the sound of my own voice.
So if there are any more questions, please put them on the Q&A board. We still have 23 people with us at this point, which is pretty good. But if there are no more questions, then I think we can probably bring this session to a close. I hope you've all enjoyed the session and that you've got something out of it, and that it's stimulated your interest in UKBIC and what we can offer, especially for this session in the area of training you so that in preparation for your own journeys into battery manufacturing, wherever in the supply chain you may be. But thank you very much for joining us this morning, and please join us for the next session that I described. Thank you very much.